Breathe, people. For today,
we're going to have a detailed look on how I master any art styles, using characters from my series Apple Black, Sano, and Opal in a Demon Slayer art style. First things first, I try to figure out the pose. You kind of don't need to know the style to pull that off, and then we start to do a little research and figure out all the things we need to do in order to get it from our pose to the Demon Slayer art style. The key word being research. I mean, guys, you need to figure that out. Look at the art style you're trying to mimic through and through, the line work, the eyes, nose, mouth, how the backgrounds are painted. Especially here, we're not really doing the Demon Slayer manga style. We're mostly focused on the anime style. All the things that make that up, you need to figure that out, and that can only happen with research. How the characters are put together, the body proportions of the character. What did the designs look like? Study everything. I don't know if you guys noticed, for those who actually watch Demon Slayer characters tend to have very unique body proportions. Sometimes they look extra young, pointy nose, big eyes, more of a staple with anime, but there's certain things that really make it stand out and be unique. The head size is usually about 6 to 6.5 the rest of the body in ratio, depending on the size and age of the character. Now, obviously, the anime art style is derived from the manga art style by the female creator Koyoharu Gotoge. But within each style, even though it's drawn by the same person, obviously there are different ways the creator draws eyes for different characters. It's not all the same shape. It's not all the same shapes with the noses, the ears, and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you can still tell that all of these different ways to drawing similar things or the same things kind of still fall within the same class and still feel like they're part of the art style family. You know what I mean? You might see one character that has their ears drawn a certain way, but that doesn't mean every character in that series has their ears drawn in the same way. So you need to study all the different ways that the creator has drawn ears, eyes, different depictions, what's allowed and what's not allowed, and you'll be able to spot out similar things here and there to make sure that when you're creating your original character, your own OC within that art style, you know what to do and what not to do. Even if you're taking liberties within the confines of the art style. You want to keep all the tendencies of the creator in mind when you're putting yourself in their shoes. Now, I know with the anime art style, there are a lot of artists and creators that have their hand in that, but imagine it's all one person and you just want to come in and mimic that. For instance, the Demon Slayers in the series all have very intricate designs for their clothing, their coats, and things of that nature. Very intricate designs for jewelry as well. So my character here, Opal, who is big on the jewelry, especially gold, I'm going to look for a Demon Slayer character that has maybe a lot of gold to see, where I can do some overlap. Now, Opal is black. You don't really see that many black characters in Demon Slayer, just saying. So I'm going to have to wing that part a little bit. Now, if there was a black character, maybe I don't know of a black character and there is one, forgive me, let me know in the comments. But I'll kind of use that black character as reference, especially if it's a black female. I'm looking at all the characters and looking to mix and match features from each character to fit what I feel will work for the character that I've put forth, Sano and Opal. As you can see here, I've chosen to make Opal a Demon Slayer and Sano a demon. So for Sano, I'm going to be using a demon as reference, preferably Nezuko. Just like Tanjiro and Nezuko, I'm trying to parallel that dynamic just a little bit with Sano and Opal in this illustration, but obviously flipped. I kind of color in the demon eyes the similar way with Nezuko, but taking a couple liberties here to make it still feel like my character at the end of the day. For example, he's going to have demon eyes kind of like Nezuko when she's pissed, but they're not going to be pink. Come on now. Another example will be me studying Giyu's hair, because his hair is the most similar to Sano's. So there's certain elements in the way it's being colored and shaded in, and maybe a slight gradient here and there that I'm going to bring in to the Sano illustration. And then after that, I do the same thing with Opal. Now, the magic is in the face. Once you nail the face, there's still other aspects of art style. It's not just the way you draw eyes, nose. I've said that a million times. It's the way you do everything and the way you actively think about everything as well. But if you do nail the face, you're off to a good start. Hopefully, I nail it and you guys think I nail it. Maybe we can go prank some people and make them think that these are new characters for the new Demon Slayer movie. April 1st is not too far. Now, I'm still going back and forth with everything. There's like a pointy nose usually applied almost everywhere. Sometimes you get some lines above the nose, spaces in between the eyes, the really big eyes, the different way the eyes are colored in and drawn in. There's some liberties taken there, but still fitting the class of this art style. That said, the intricate looking designs for the clothing is almost a staple for the show, so that's a given. And then I'm going to have a little Easter egg with the scarf for Sano, almost mimicking the little collar he has in the original design. But here I'm going to do the scarf from episode 1, almost like a nod to it. When it comes to finding the reference, you can use Google. I use Google. Pinterest is another good one. And you'll find a lot of resources to take advantage of. Now with the inking here, it was a little tricky. You have to really pay attention, and you can see that sometimes the lines are thicker in some places than other places. Now within the illustration of the character, the lines are a little thinner, but towards the edges they tend to be much thicker. And then in some other places, even though they're not on the edges, they tend to be thicker as well. So you need to study them and find some kind of formula and then be consistent. So I noticed that the edges are much thicker, and then some certain corners are much thicker, and underneath the neck where it connects with the jaw, the shading under there has a part that is completely flat black as well, really thick line. And so while inking, I'll ink all the thick parts with a larger brush size, and then I'll go in connecting all the lines together with a much thinner brush size. Still paying attention to the pen pressure, because I'm using a graphic tablet here to do this illustration. And the idea that I've noticed behind the inking like this is to mimic a traditional inking brush, being fluid, and where the lines take a curve, those parts are thicker. When it's going straight, it's thinner. So these are things to watch out for, and you would notice, especially if you've used inking brushes traditionally. If you're curious, it doesn't matter what software you're really using. Here I'm using Photoshop, but you could have used Clip Studio Paint. As long as you have the tools or some kind of translation with whatever you're using, you should be fine. This is the same approach I have to doing any art style. I know you guys have seen my 20 ways art style videos before, and that's kind of how I did those as well. I'll leave links in the video cards for those who are interested in watching the 20 art style challenge videos with Sano and Opal. I actually did another one with Caesar and other Saturday AM characters as well, but I just did 10. I feel the ability to mimic other art styles can come in handy, especially if you're working with a team and everybody needs to have like a consistent vibe all throughout, and you're all working on separate sections of whatever it is. It might be an animation or a comic, the list goes on. Or if you just want to prank some idiots online. A lot of stuff you can use this for. If you're wondering how I learned all those various different art styles, this is how I did it. You gotta get rid of the gum lines I left in the teeth here, because in the art style for Demon Slayer, they don't have any lines to show the gums in the teeth. That's just a reflex thing from my own art style. Now speaking of inking, I have partnered up with Skillshare to bring this video to you guys. Trying to make 2020 a big year where you can explore and deepen existing passions, like all sorts of art, especially the ones you can find on this channel, like sequential arts, comics, animation. Just get lost in creativity with Skillshare's online classes. Good chance what you find on there will surprise you or inspire you, or both. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers memberships with meaning. With so much to explore, real projects to create, and the support of fellow creatives, Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth, offering classes for real life, moving your creative journey forward without putting your life on hold. Learning and growing with short classes to fit your busy routine, ranging from animation to illustration to graphic design, UX, UI, the list goes on. Cooking, music production, you get it. And I'm not just saying that for the video. In fact, one of the first classes I ever took on Skillshare was ink drawing techniques, brush nibs, and pen style by Yuko Shimizu, seasoned vet, illustrator, and instructor at School of Visual Arts. And the class really helped me in the early stages when I was trying to learn how to use traditional brushes to make fine art. She goes through it all, giving examples, sharing her tips and techniques, and a couple hacks here from her experience anybody can take and apply to their own works. And don't worry guys, Skillshare is very affordable, especially when compared to in-person classes and workshops. With an annual subscription of less than $10 a month, highly recommend it. And for the first 500 people that click the link in the description, you get 2 free months of Skillshare premium membership. You're welcome. Now what's next is to add some tone, mess with the mood a little bit, the shading, as long as it's according to the actual style from the anime, putting in shadows only where the art style would put in shadows as best as I can. If you're interested, I have a video in the video cards that is a more technical tutorial on how I do anime cell shading. So basically I go in more detail about the mood, tone, shading, and Nani? So for instance, I've decided that the hair, if it was going to be in that art style, will be similar to Gyu's, so I'll still be using Gyu's coloring style as a reference. I'm still only halfway through the first season of Demon Slayer, so I've actually not finished it, but a lot of people say I should watch till like episode 17 or 19, and they also say like the manga gets better as well, so you know, time will tell. But either way, I've studied the clothing designs and like the swords and katana and all of that, and they all have intricate designs that are just interesting to look at. Sometimes the shading on the hilt of the sword kind of has a slight airbrush feel to it, so you kind of have to be careful with that, and those are the slight things, very subtle things that you have to notice when trying to mimic styles. Right underneath their belt, at least with the Demon Slayers, is shaded heavy, is like covered with that shade layer. Also underneath their jaw, like the whole neck area is usually completely shaded. Inside the ears, completely shaded. So stuff like that you have to watch out for. So here I'm shading in the scarf and the clothing, and I have to kind of make sure it's in tune with what I'm actually seeing with the character here with Giyu. And then I just go back and forth until I feel like I get it right. Playing around with the swords, intricate designs, shading in places that would normally be shaded in the original illustration. And then back here, going back and forth, still shading all the appropriate places, taking some liberties where I see fit, going back and forth to make sure it actually matches. Adding a little more flair to Sano here, so I'm making him some kind of demon, mixing it up with the original character where he has this powerful arm. He's a sorcerer in my own series, Apple Black, and he has this powerful arm called Erotus. And here I'm kind of making it this demon claw thing and tweaking it a bit, even though, spoiler, you might actually see something that looks like this, like an evolved version in the manga, just so you know. But I'm adding some lights to it, making it look even more special and cool. If any of you guys are actually interested in reading my manga, by the way, the first chapter is free, and I'll leave a link to where you guys can go check that out. Apple Black is published and serialized on Saturday AM, along with BACASSI on Saturday PM. Links and bio to everything you could possibly need, including a link to our new app. Big shout out to everyone who's downloaded the app. You guys would never know how much your support means. Free to download, and there's free content on it. But back to the illustration, Sano's eyes are going to be a little similar to Nezuko because, demon. And then Opal I'm making similar to Mitsuri, Shinobu, and Tengen to a degree. Just certain elements here and there. And then I took another liberty within the confines of the art style and added that little white ball you can see within Tanjiro's eye and then put it in Opal. It's almost like mixing and matching a bunch of assets within the art style and then creating an avatar to look like your character. How gold looks in this art style kind of has a couple like thin lines within it, and then it has a more orangey gradient to the feel before you have the traditional normal cell shading on top of it. So I'm watching out for all those kinds of things as well. The shading would be in a linear burn in Photoshop or whatever software you're using, and then a couple highlights here and there in color dodge. Those are the blending modes, color dodge and linear burn. Again, I have that other video that goes in more detail about the technical aspects of creating illustration. And low-key, you guys can tell me if you feel like the characters look like they could be in Kimetsu no Yaiba / Demon Slayer, like they would fit. Would they be popular if you saw these guys on the actual show? What do you think their roles would be? Villains, heroes. Heroes is secretly villains, or vice versa. I can imagine Opal and Sano as demon slayers, and then something happens and Sano tries to save Opal, and in the process he gets infected and becomes a demon, and they fight together to find a cure. Then they join Tanjiro and Nezuko and their whole crew to go find the cure together. Turns out, plot twist, there's only one cure and only one person can have it. And boom, there's your movie right there. I don't know how it'll end. I just know it's gonna be tragic, and give me your money. It'll be fun to see you guys finish out the story in the comments or write your own stuff. Imagine you were a writer on the show and you guys were supposed to put together a Demon Slayer movie with these characters. What would you do? No holds barred, do whatever you want, write whatever you want. Okay, we're back. Now we gotta focus. You can also use the eyedropper tool, and if you want to get the exact colors from the characters, say you pull them into whatever software you're using, and you can use the eyedropper tool to get the exact colors of what you might want. Let's say you want to see the color that's usually used for skins. You can just pull a character in, use an eyedropper if you can't eyeball it with your naked eye. So taking Nezuko's skin right there and dragging and placing here, I need to put something with a little more contrast so I can get like a mask of the place I want to cover, and then I just switch the colors for Nezuko's skin. And now I'm just putting in the other flats appropriately with the hair I'm going to pick from Giyu. And I just keep going, filling in, taking liberties where I see fit, going back and forth, putting the shadows in just to make sure everything kind of still looks good, coloring in Opal, and making sure everything just feels like it could be on the show. Like this is what you could potentially see on the show. Putting in the whites. I really like the designs overall. I think they look good. And then with Opal's jacket or coat, whatever it's called, I'm putting in like some blur, some airbrushes there for a tie-dye feel, because she wears tie-dye in the actual series to a degree. And I'm just putting that in, and I think it works. Well, with some of the circles, I will kind of place maybe some transparent type of yellow, and overall, because of Opal's tie-dye, I'm taking a bit from Shinobu. I like the idea of Mitsuri's leg warmer things, but I'll use them for Opal's hands. And then some gold elements from Tengen and how his glove wraps around one of his fingers. Just certain elements like that. I kind of stole all that. And then when I'm done with the folder that has all the flats, I can turn on the flats and turn on the mood, tone, shading, highlights, the eye shine, all that stuff. And then we have our characters. Next step would be the backgrounds. I kind of suck at digital painting for backgrounds, but I do my best and hopefully we're gonna make it through. Again, still using reference, at least a reference that's familiar with the show, so it really sells the idea that they're from that world. The sky is a nice blue, the clouds are kind of blurry but also well blended. And then we're gonna put in the trees, and then the further away the trees are, you're gonna get like a blue atmospheric pressure coming from the reflections from the blue sky and also just from that distance, blue fog. It's just a blend of everything. This part usually works best if you have some experience doing digital painting. And anyways, even with the anime, there's usually a completely different person doing this part of things. And then using reference with the characters outside in a similar environment, there is a gradient coming from the sky. I want to put that in there as well. Also, quick note, I've not met most of these characters in the show, at least not yet, so maybe I'm kind of spoiling a little bit for me, but it'll be fine. I'll finish it this month on Hulu. This is also good practice for me because I also want to transition slowly into doing simple, very simple animations on the channel, and I think you guys will really enjoy those, so subscribe. Again, with the backgrounds, it helps if you have a lot of experience, or at least some experience, and you have like really good brushes. Your brushes don't suck, or you don't suck. And then once I'm done with all of that, I do my anime filter trick. Again, you can find that in the technical video. It'll be linked. Basically, it's a duplicate of all the layers merged, put above everything else, with a blur on it at 30%, and then the blending mode of that layer changed to lighten, and then the opacity is reduced. If the opacity is too high, it kind of looks like a flashback type scene, so they want the opacity around 30%, and it's blurred at 30% too. Run with the wind, folks. Prank people with this. April 1st is not that far. Tell them it's a new character from the upcoming Demon Slayer movie. Those fools. For the 1.5 people that made it to the end of this video, please, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like this video. That helps a great deal. Don't forget to water breathing, fourth form, striking, tide that subscribe button, and hit that bell so you stay notified each time I upload absolutely anything. Please follow me on Instagram, Twitter. All the links you could possibly need will be in the description, including links to Saturday AM social media as well. Shout out to Skillshare. Links to where you can get 2 free months will be in the description. Please use that link. Watch my other videos. Binge my whole channel. It's Whyt Manga, and I'm out.